hips aren't stiff. They are holding a pattern that was inscribed at the base when vulnerability meant a real threat. That pattern shows up as locking when you sit down, the lower back compensating for every movement, breathing that doesn't reach the pelvis, and the persistent difficulty of staying in the position without growing discomfort. It persists because the body still identifies danger where it should recognize safety. And that's why stretching hard, chasing more range, or insisting on long sessions never touched the root. Today you're going to learn the 1-minute-a-day practice that removes the support from this old pattern without confronting it, teaching the nervous system that the pelvis is trustworthy again through brief and inevitable repetition. There is a precise moment in this minute when the body drops its vigilance at the base. Leaving this video now means losing access to the rare principle that transforms hips permanently without depending on effort, without regression, and without demanding unsustainable discipline. What you'll see next has nothing to do with flexibility. The pelvis works as the seal of the somatic temple, the place where the nervous system registers whether life can be sustained with openness or whether everything must be contained. When this seal is under vigilance, the body organizes cascading compensations to avoid exposure at the base, and the hips stop being a foundation and become a wall. This process is not conscious. It happens in the tissue, in the tone that doesn't relax, and in the way the vagus nerve interprets context and defines which internal state will be maintained. Alchemical texts treated the base as a vessel of transmutation, where faithful repetition of the right gesture dissolves old matter without it being necessary to fight it. The alchemist didn't force the stone. He created conditions for it to lose density by itself, until the new state emerged as a natural consequence. The pelvis, in this understanding, is the vessel where old patterns lose support when the body receives constant signaling that there is no more risk. What keeps the hips locked isn't only muscular contraction. It's an active autonomic state that protects the base as if the center of survival were there. The adductors burn early. The lower back takes on the work the pelvis should do. The diaphragm shortens, and the breath doesn't descend to where it should because getting there would mean handing over command where the body still identifies threat. This pattern feeds on sympathetic hypervigilance and prevents the system from finding variation in tone, the capacity to yield without collapsing. Stephen Porges discovered that the nervous system learns trust through repeated experiences where there is no threat, and that this learning reorganizes the way the body inhabits the world. When the pelvis is placed in a predictable context, with no demand for performance and no pain, the autonomic circuit begins to abandon defense mode and recovers the ability to modulate presence. It isn't mobility that transforms the hip. It's the information that that position has stopped being dangerous. This understanding explains why you feel urgency to leave the position, why the lower back locks before the hip yields, and why forcing range makes it worse instead of resolving it. There is someone who lived exactly this, and this person's story will show how the old pattern loses strength when the body finds repetition where there used to be struggle. Pamela is 38 and works as a nanny in Toronto, taking care of 2 children 5 days a week. The routine requires her to spend hours on the floor, playing, stacking blocks, sitting in a circle. And every time she went down there, she felt her hips lock as if her whole body rejected that position. She had been looking for answers for months, testing mobility videos, stretching sessions, and even deep massages. But nothing seemed to touch the place the locking was coming from. The conflict wasn't only physical. Her hips burned when she opened her legs, her adductors became reactive with any lateral movement, and her lower back took the weight of everything, generating pain that rose up to the middle of her back. Pamela noticed she avoided sitting on the floor outside of work, preferred the couch or a chair, and when she needed to go down, she got up quickly, as if staying there for only a short time would keep the discomfort from setting in. This affected the way she rested, the way she played with the children, and even her willingness to start personal projects that had been postponed for years. She tried yoga twice a week for 3 months, forcing postures that demanded hip opening, and she left classes with the feeling that she had injured something instead of released it. She tried a myofascial release roller on the adductors, pressing until it hurt. But the tension came back the next day as if the body refused to change. She tried 20-minute static stretches before bed, holding positions until she trembled, but her hips were still locked in the morning, and her lower back was worse. One afternoon, while she waited in the physiotherapy waiting room to accompany one of the children who had sprained an ankle, Pamela flipped through a magazine about applied neuroscience and found a short article about how the nervous system maintains protective patterns in the pelvis when the body still interprets vulnerability as risk. The article mentioned a 1-minute-a-day practice, no stretching, no effort, just safe, repeated staying until the body gave up vigilance. She photographed the page with her phone because it was exactly the opposite of everything she had tried. The first time Pamela sat on the floor with her legs open at the comfortable limit, placed her hands behind her body, and began the exploratory micro-movements she had read about in the article, something shifted. It wasn't immediate relief. It was the absence of urgency, as if for the first time her body wasn't asking her to get out of there. What happened after that, you're going to experience now in your own body. Find a place on the floor where you can sit without hurry, and open your legs to the point where you feel resistance, but not pain. If your hips don't allow you to keep your legs straight, bend your knees, keep your feet supported on the floor, and open only as much as is comfortable right now. The goal isn't range. It's teaching the nervous system that this position has stopped being a threat. Place your hands behind your body, on the floor or on cushions, so that your torso is slightly leaned back. Feel the weight of the sit bones, the bones at the base of the pelvis, touching the ground. This contact is the first signal of anchoring the information that the body has real support. Breathe deeply a few times and notice where immediate tension arises. It can be in the adductors, in the groin, in the lower back, or even in the jaw. Now begin to make small side-to-side rocks, shifting your weight from one sit bone to the other, as if you were drawing a gentle arc with the pelvis. The movement should be minimal, almost imperceptible, just enough for the body to sense mobility without alarm. While you do this, keep the breath long and allow the exhale to drop into the pelvis as if you were softening the base from the inside. After a few rocks, tip the torso discreetly forward, not to stretch, but to explore. The tip should be small, as if you were only changing your viewing angle, and come back to center without hurry. Then make a slow rotation of the torso to the right, keeping the pelvis on the ground, and then to the left. These micro movements keep the body in a state of curiosity, signaling that there is no demand for performance. Notice where the body hardens to protect itself. It may be that the adductors want to lock, that the lower back forces to hold the position, or that the breath becomes short. Whenever you notice that, reduce the movement. Increase your attention on the exhale and return to the contact of the sit bones with the ground. What you're doing now is removing the support from the old pattern, not forcing change, but offering safe repetition. Choose a point of attention at the base. It can be the contact of the sit bones, the sensation of distributed weight, or the warmth that begins to form in the pelvis. This point functions as an anchor, the place you return to whenever the mind scatters or the body tries to escape the position. The more you repeat this, the more the nervous system understands that this position is not dangerous, and the old pattern loses strength because it stops being necessary. Stay like this for a full minute, maintaining the exploratory micro movements and the long breath. If at any moment you feel urgency to leave, don't leave. Just reduce the opening of the legs, adjust the support of the hands, and continue. That urgency is the old pattern trying to sustain itself, and each time you choose to remain safely, you remove its support. Before continuing, there is something essential you need to know about Pamela, because what happened with her is exactly what is beginning to happen in your body right now. Pamela repeated this practice every day for 3 weeks, always after her evening shower, when her body was already more relaxed and the house was quiet. In the first days, she felt urgency to leave the position after 30 seconds, but she continued, and she noticed the urgency decreased with each repetition. In the second week, the adductors stopped burning right at the beginning, and the lower back stopped compensating as much, as if the body had begun to trust that the pelvis could support without defense. What changed wasn't only mobility. Pamela noticed she could sit on the floor with the children without anticipating discomfort, that her breathing dropped deeper throughout the day, and that personal projects that had been postponed began to be resumed without the feeling of internal weight that used to paralyze her. She measured progress not by how far she opened her legs, but by how long she could remain in the position without the body asking to leave, and by how many times her lower back didn't need to lock to support the base. What Pamela felt over those 3 weeks is what you're beginning to feel now, because the body recognizes safe repetition and drops vigilance when it learns. There is no longer a threat where there used to be alarm. Now that you understand how the practice works, let's integrate the habit into your routine so that it becomes inevitable. Choose a daily trigger, something you already do every day without thinking. It can be after your shower, while the coffee brews, or before bed. The trigger turns the practice into an automatic consequence, and you stop depending on motivation for change to happen. When you sit like this tomorrow, pay attention to how the body responds differently. It may be that the initial resistance decreases, that your time staying increases without effort, or that the lower back doesn't compensate as much. These are the signs that the old pattern is losing support, and you measure progress not by aesthetics, but by lower internal cost to hold the position. If at any moment you feel your hips lock again, don't force range. Return to the basics. Sit at the comfortable limit. Do the micro movements. Keep the breath long and return to the contact of the sit bones with the ground. The body needs repetition, not intensity, and transformation happens when the new information becomes stronger than the old memory. The central practice is complete. What you did now wasn't stretch your hips. It was teach the nervous system that the base is safe again. What comes next is sealing this change in the body, so it holds even when routine asks more of you. The sign that the body has begun to change is the breath reaching the pelvis without effort, simply dropping where it didn't drop before. You may also feel the sit bones supported with distributed weight on the floor. Steady warmth forming at the base, or the lower back letting go of the compensation that used to feel inevitable. These markers prove that the nervous system recognized the pelvis as safe territory, and that the old pattern has lost part of the support that kept it active. To anchor this state in the body, place your hands on the iliac crests, the bones you feel on the sides of the pelvis, and apply a gentle micro-pressure while you take 3 long breaths. During these breaths, internally recognize that your base supports without needing to defend, that the body learned trust where there used to be vigilance. This gesture takes less than 60 seconds and can be repeated whenever you need to reconnect with the pelvis. In the next few days, when you feel the hips lock again, and this can happen because old patterns try to return under stress, sit on the floor for 1 minute, do the micro movements you learned, breathe deeply, and repeat internally, "My base is trustworthy again." Then place your hands on the iliac crests and redo the micro pressure with the 3 long breaths. This reconnects the body to what was installed and prevents the pattern from reinstalling itself with force. The seal is complete. What was installed in the body now doesn't depend on motivation, because it has become learning in the nervous system, and this learning strengthens every time you repeat the practice. What you hold in the body now isn't only range in the hips. It's a base that is no longer on guard, and that change reorganizes presence, decisions, and the way you stay in situations without staying costing internal effort. The breath drops deeper without effort. The lower back releases compensations that used to seem mandatory, and the pelvis becomes a foundation again instead of a fortress. These subtle changes alter your capacity to initiate, sustain, and create without the body spending energy defending territory that is already yours. This practice is part of a larger path of somatic release, where each old pattern that loses support opens space for the body to recover mobility, presence, and creation. There are other layers of protection inscribed in regions you haven't touched yet, and each of them responds to the same principle. Safe repetition surpasses inherited vigilance, and the body learns trust when it receives constant signaling that there is no longer risk. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio said, "The body is the stage where feelings happen, and the mind is the audience that witnesses them." What you experienced here wasn't only technique, it was the body regaining the ability to feel without feeling, meaning danger, and the mind recognizing that safety can be learned. When the base becomes trustworthy again, the body becomes an available vessel for divine creation, because God does not manifest through structures in vigilance, but through bases that support without defending. The source operates where there is inner space, and that space opens when old patterns lose the support that kept them active. If this content touched something real in your body, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share it with someone you know needs this. If you want to directly support the continuation of this work and contribute so that more practices like this reach those who truly need them, consider becoming a channel member. In the comments, leave this affirmation: I sit like this, and the old pattern no longer sustains itself. When you register this in words, you anchor the experience in the tissue and consolidate the learning in the nervous system. If you want to keep exploring this path of somatic release and deepen the transformation that began here, there is other content waiting for you. Click the video that is appearing on the screen now. Transforming the hips forever is not achieving something new. It is removing the support from a bodily memory that has already served its role. And when the pelvis stops keeping watch, creation becomes a consequence of a silent base instead of an effort of will.